Hey everybody, I'm just trying to get this all worked out, so give me a quick second to figure that out. I know this isn't the most fun thing, just trying to figure out exactly what's going on here. Let's see here. There we go. The live stream should be working. Here we go. Good. Okay, and if you are watching, can you just type in there on the public chat, let me know that it's working and that you're on here. And I'm going to send out a new link real quick just to make sure we've got everyone on the right page today. How's everyone doing? Let's see here, my channel. And we're live now. Hey, there's 5 of us now. Awesome, guys. This is so great. I'm super excited. Let's see here. We're going to take this just to make sure we've got we don't need volume in here. This has gone along well. Control C. We're just going to pass this out there, and then we're going to start a thing here soon. Hey, how's it going? Is that Keller, or is that, let's see, Kaylee? And let me see here real quick. Sent. Okay, so that looks like it's working just great. Okay. How are you doing, Diego? Diego is online too. We're coming over here. I've never done this before, so this could be a little bit of a huge disaster, and if it is, you guys let me know. We're going to do our best and really make it as good as we can and have some fun today. And today's big lesson is all about it's all about practicing and how to practice, how to get things coming together, how to make things work really well for you. You know, practicing is one of the biggest things that we do in music. Of course, we do it privately, ourselves, in a room by ourselves. And when you guys have questions about things that we're talking about, just type them in the thing and I'll see them and I'll answer them as we go along. But the other thing too I want to make sure that we do is I want to actually show you a little bit about how I practice. So I've got a couple of different pieces here that I'm looking at. Hold on one second. And we're going to be looking a little bit at 2 different things that I'm going to be practicing today. One is some Latin grooves. Now, I'm not a Latin drummer, but I want to be a Latin drummer someday. And so I'm going to be practicing some basic Latin grooves here. We're going to be working on the clave. Here you're going to see me practice that and how I practice that. And then the other one is a piano piece that some of my students are playing, and I've played before, but it's been many, many years. And this one is the sonata, the Moonlight Sonata. So we're gonna have a little experience working with both of those guys. So real quick, let's talk about practicing. How to practice, how to put things together, how to get your thing working. And there's a couple of different strategies. For those who have a hard time sitting down for a long time to practice, let's say for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, for 40 minutes, maybe you're young, or maybe you're just trying to it gets boring for you for whatever reason. You know, there are some things you can do to kind of break that up. And the biggest thing is practice twice. Practice once in the morning, practice once in the afternoon or the evening before you go to bed, and that should really help bring that together so that you can get your practicing in and that you don't get so bored. The other thing too that's nice about that, you get more repetition by doing that. So you can start your practice off by doing some rudiments or some scale exercises depending on your instrument, some vocal warm-ups, and then you can get into kind of the meat of the assignments that you've gotten from me on what to practice. And then at the end, you should always have a little bit of fooling around time. Now, if you break up your practice period, you can do all that stuff. In your second practice period, you don't have to do as much warm up or as much fooling around time, and you can work on kind of your literature stuff, the assignments you have. Or if you want to have more of that fool around time, I think you can do that too. I like a lot of fool around time. When do you guys like to practice? Do you guys like to practice in the morning? Do you guys like to practice in the afternoon? Do you like to practice in the evening? Just type it in there in the chat so I can see what you guys like to do when you're practicing. Now, if you are good at sitting down and practicing for a while, we should talk about how to break that up. And it's going to be very similar to how it's broken up before, right? You start off with some good warm-up exercises. If you're on piano, that could include some Hanon, that could include some scales, that could include something, anything to get your fingers warmed up. If you're on guitar, again, just kind of working on things like bar chords, things that you know that you got to work on a long-term basis, and that you can kind of really help get your fingers moving. Keller likes to practice in the afternoon. I like that too. I tend to work in the afternoon, but the early afternoon, I like to get some drumming in. That's when I like to practice my drums for sure. So as you're kind of trying to break that up for you, and get your practicing in, remember, your warm-up is important. It really helps. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit of my piano warm-up, okay? Because I think that'll help. And we're going to move this camera around just a little bit so you can see what we're doing. And hopefully you'll be able to see the piano okay. Can you see that okay? It looks like you can. All right, here we go. Now, you can see a little bit, here's my piano here. I've got some of my exercise materials here that I'm going to be working on today. But when I start with my piano, one of the things I might do is start with some scales. And then I always add a chord at the end. And my purpose in this is to make sure that my scales are strong and loud. I am trying to strengthen my fingers when I do this. When I put that thing together, I'm really slowing it down. I'm making sure that it's strong and big and beautiful. And this can be true on any instrument that you're working on. Whoops, I'm accidentally touching my camera here, and that's not helping us. So, let's say I want to work on a separate scale. Now, sometimes what I'm trying to do is really get things moving quickly. Sometimes I want strength. And I need to practice both of those as I warm up. Oh, sorry. Okay, nice strong scales. And that one is a little bit fast too. Now, if you're a piano player, and one of the things you can do to help with this, and talk to me if you're ready for this. A lot of pianists don't use this exercise until they're a little bit older or they need it for an actual piano piece that they're working on. But this is called the Hanon exercise. You can see when you're doing that, it's all about strength, a little bit about speed, but mostly about strength, getting things really, really strong. And it repeats for a long time. We're skipping that first note. And what happens is when I have a phrase that needs really good work, especially with these fingers here, I need to think of exercises to help support that. Things that will help that. And Hanon is great. Diego's telling me he practices whenever he feels like it, which is pretty often. Thanks, Diego. I appreciate that. So you guys can see a little bit of my warm-up on piano and how I do that. It really is just trying to focus in on strengthening exercise to get these guys working, these two fingers a lot. If I'm focusing on scales, then what I'm really trying to do is make sure that those scales are strong and powerful. Okay? So let's go over and let me show you my warm-up for drums, because I think that's interesting. Okay, can you guys see everything okay? It's looking pretty good. Now with drum set, when I'm starting to warm up, my major concern is getting the same thing going. I want my wrists working well. So I'm going to start with a little exercise that I call 8 on a hand, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. It's simple, it's strong, it's just getting that exercise going really, really well and getting the mechanics of how I hold the stick and how I move back and forth working over and over again. This is a warm-up that we do all the time in our warm-ups in lessons. And then we'll go to the single stroke roll. Okay? And as we're working through that, we're getting that down, you want to hear that every hit is consistent, because what happens is when you go for a fill, when you go for that fill, you want all of those hits to be very consistent. So you practice it here very consistently. Kind of cool, huh? So think about those exercises. Sometimes we do little mind exercises that help, that make things really interesting. We'll go paradiddle, paradiddle. So we paradiddle, paradiddle. This is another good warm-up. Paradiddle, paradiddle. And so the exercise like that can really help. When you're starting an exercise like that and you're trying to get it really to sound good and to come together, slowing it down would be a big help. Paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. And then you can actually speed up as you go. The thing you have to be careful is you don't want to speed up, and this is true with piano, it's true with guitar, voice, brass, drums, all this stuff. You don't want to speed up to the point where you're losing control of the actual exercise. Once you get to the point where you start to lose control, you want to back up immediately, back off immediately, and keep that tempo. Keep that tempo for a while. Work on it for a few days, then increase your tempo with that. Does that sound pretty good? Hey, put a comment in there, just let me know. Hey, I'm still watching, this is going pretty well. Or, boy, this is boring. You could write that too if you want. All right? Now, one of the things we're going to do now is we're going to move over to one of the assignments that I might have been assigned. Let me grab my sheet here that I have. Because today we're going to work on something that's actually pretty hard for me. And these are Latin grooves. Okay? Now, the nice thing about a Latin groove here, or about a drum beat here, is you can see we've got several different instruments. We've got bass drum, we've got hi-hat, and we've got our snare drum. With this, we're going to use our cross stick to make that happen, like this. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I practice this exercise, and this exercise is particularly hard for me personally. This is not easy for me. I'm going to break it down into its different parts. I'm going to start with my bass drum and my hi-hat. Boom, chick, ba, boom, chick, ba, boom, chick, ba, boom, chick. And I'm just going to practice those little things. Notice, like, if you're playing piano, the similar thing here is working on one hand at a time. If you're playing guitar, it's taking your picking and working on just the rhythm of the picking, or just working on fingering the chords, getting the chords right, okay? Breaking things up is a great practice technique. Boom, chick, ba, boom, chick. Oh, hold on a second. Boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom. Now, I'm going to add in something else. The hi-hats here are just straight hi-hats, or actually they're on the right. They're just straight for me. So I get to go 1 tay, 2 tay, 3 tay, 4 tay. 1 tay, 2, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, chick, ba, boom, chick, ba, boom, chick, ba, boom, chick. Now that part is pretty easy for me. It's not too hard. I'm able to see everything together, okay? And it works really well for me. The hard part is the cross stick. It's really hard for me. So I'm going to take this very, very slow as I put this together. I'm going to start with my bass drum and my hi-hat going back and forth. I'm going to make sure I get my eighth notes over here working. And then I'm going to start adding this guy in. Now this is what, on a clave, this is what the snare drum should sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, tay, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, tay, 4. Okay? This is the hardest part of all of this for me. And I really, really struggle with it. So I'm going to take it very slow. 1, tay, 2, tay, 3, tay, 4. 1, tay, 2. Now I'm going to add in my clave. 1, tay, 2. You can see this is very difficult for me. I'm going to take the hi-hat out now and just work on the bass drum and the snare drum together. Boom, chick, ba together, together, boom, chick, boom, boom, chick, boom, together, boom. So you can see doing it very, very slowly for a very long period of time is going to help that come together. This is fun and hard. Boom, chick, ba, boom, 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 chick, ba, boom, chick, ba, boom, chick, ba. And you can see at the end there, that was a big error. I made some mistakes. And you know what? I'm not stopping when I do that. I'm not quitting. I'm not throwing my sticks and getting mad. I'm going to back up and start working on that a little more. Let me try it one more time. 2, ready, go. Boom, chick, ba, boom, 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 chick, boom, 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 chick, ba, boom. So you can see, it's a hard thing for me. It's something I definitely need to practice more, and I will, and it'll come together. All right, give me a second here. I'm going to reposition. Okay, in the comments as we're working on this real quick, I want you guys to just kind of give me a little conversation. How does slowing down your practicing, like your actual, like working on something, slowing it down to really, really slow, how does that help or hurt what you're doing? And let's see, Kaylee, I'm looking for you. Diego, I'm looking for you to say something. Maybe Keller, just type it in there and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit. Now, I want to show you another example of slowing your practice down to really slow speeds to make sure that it still works and that it comes together. And we're going to be using a piano piece to do that today, Moonlight Sonata. Okay? Now, I played this years and years and years ago. I'm no good at it anymore. I need to practice it to get it ready for a performance. Well, for a fake performance. I'm not actually performing it right now. But I'm going to start taking a look at this as well. If you notice, if you take a look at this music here, you're going to see we've got triplets that we're dealing with. We've got a bass part. And Diego, you actually just finished this at the was it the last recital or the recital before then? I think you were before then. So we have three different parts. We have this guy here, we have this guy here, and then we also have, starting over here, a melody on the top that we have to manage as well. Lots of interesting things here. And like the drum part, we had the bass drum, we had the snare drum, and we had the ride cymbal that we were trying to manage and bring all that stuff together. So lots of interesting things to do. Slowing it down, I think, is going to be our key. So let's get positioned for that, and we're going to practice a little bit of Moonlight Sonata real quick, okay? Let's see here. And I really, really like having my piano even if I can. Let's see if I can get it there. I think that looks pretty good. Let's see what's happening. Did we lose our signal here? I think it's still going, so I think we're okay. Okay, with Moonlight Sonata, what we're going to be doing here, let's get this guy in the right place, is taking it very slow and breaking up the parts bit by bit, okay? And the first part I'm going to be breaking up is just these bass hands. Down to the B. There you go. A, F sharp, G sharp. Okay? So we've got a couple of things going on there. All right? And then as we go here, we're going to start adding in or start working on this little upper hand part. Now with piano, I do a lot of hand separate work. It really, really helps. So there we got some broken up stuff, and I'm looking at my feed and it's looking like it's not coming through. So I think I might just kind of end this up here real quick since it looks like it's not working. Let's see. It says that it's still streaming, but I don't know if you guys are getting it. Let's see here. Let's stop it and restart it. Okay, is anybody there? Let me see if you guys are there. See if this comes back. There we go. There we go. Looks like we're back now. Maybe. Just taking a look there. Okay, well, I'm going to finish up here with this, and hopefully this will be helpful. I don't know if this will all end up on the same thing or not. Practicing is like the most important thing we do as musicians, and it's sitting in a room, it's working ourselves on something, kind of slowly bringing things together. The key to being a good musician is being in a practice room. It's what you're doing, okay? But also the intensity at which you're practicing it, the intensity that you're focusing in, and the amount of time that you spend practicing it. If you spend a lot of time in your practice room, but you're kind of not really working at it, it's not really helping you. If you work really hard on something and bring it together, but you're not spending enough time on it, then that's not going to help as much either. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Keep that in your head as you're doing it. Try to, as best you can, keep things together, really have a good amount of intensity and a good amount of time in your practice. And that's going to get you the best results. Okay, guys, we are out of time. I'm going to do this again. Hopefully this was helpful. Let me know in your lessons when we talk if you like this, if this worked well for you. And what I'm going to do is keep trying to make these types of events happen so that you guys can get your makeups in easier, so that things come together a little bit easier for you, and we'll kind of go from there. Sound good? All right. Thanks, guys.